Welcome to the Super Tea Podcast Show. So, this is an unofficial let's talk about it because I need to talk about it. Um, I've been doing a lot of things for myself, and I feel like self sufficiency is just at a whole new level with me. And some positive things I can say is that I have found a community that I look forward to developing within, um, creating friendships. I went to go visit that new community, yes, not yesterday, last Sunday, and it was very endearing on my heart. Um, they were wishing a couple that had been with them for quite some time um, their farewells because the couple decided to move closer to their children. And the children are adults, obviously married themselves as well. This is a retired couple, and they just served and grew and was a part of this loving community. So I had the opportunity to spend some time with two ladies, and it felt really, really, really good. Um, uh, so I'm looking forward to um, my new friends and my new community, and just adjusting to this new chapter in my life. I am officially an empty nester. I sort of been on the fence of that for quite some time. I feel when you've done something for so long and it's not something that you discontinue, but the way you do it discontinues. And that's something for me has been mothering, mothered for almost 30 years now. And I started very young. I started with just strong willpower and the heart and the love to um, be sacrificial and be be motherly. And I went through so many different trials and tribulations and challenges, and I held in, swallowed so many hurtful, painful things and experiences, and just kept on going and just kept on going and just kept on and kept on. And what I realized from my experience, and when I decided, hey, now I must um, invest some time into my own healing and growth, which happened about a decade ago. Accurately, probably like 8 years ago. But, 8 years, 10 years, same difference, right? And when I made that choice, and it wasn't like I had any other, I mean, it didn't seem like I had any other options, when you have poured, and sacrificed, and poured, and sacrificed, and poured, sacrifice, and poured, sacrifice. All I had left was me. All I had left was me. And I had to redirect, and it wasn't normal for me to redirect that energy and that time and those efforts because while I was pouring and pouring and being sacrificial, I was neglecting me. And of course, there's a difference between abuse and neglect, but neither one is good for you, right? So, people look at me and they're like, oh, you look great, and da da da. And it's like, Well, actually, my muscles were atrophying. I laugh about it because I've been addressing those things actively for the last few years. And ironically, it took major accidents for me to even take the time to address those things, you know, because I kept going and 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 going, you know. It was super black woman. I think that's something we need to talk about, you know. Um, and I know women, black women are talking about it, and just women in general, but specifically black women. Um, we we've been positioned in very precarious ways here, and um, even when we have loving family support, and even when we have strong communities, we're still in precarious positions, you know, just by society standards. Even when, you know, the pressure is not in the home, outside in the workspace, there's a lot of different dynamics we have to navigate through and with and above and beyond. So, you know, those things have effects. You know, what I can say is I can speak on my journey and I can speak on my observations. And in my journey, I made a decision, again, about a decade ago to start healing and start growing and start recuperating some of myself and stop being neglectful to myself. And it wasn't an outer um, process. It was an internal process. So it started internally. It started with my emotions. It started with my time. It started, you know, again with my thoughts and, you know, how was I thinking about myself? How was I um, just thinking about life? Or what was I deciding to do with my life? What was I deciding to do with myself? So it was an internal process. It just became external again after my last major injury, which was several years ago. That's when it was like, oh, I felt like the universe sat me down. It was like, sit down. Don't keep going like the Energizer Bunny rabbit. Sit down. It is still challenging for me. I energized Bunny Rabbit yesterday, and even though I felt in my spirit and I took my time and communed with spirit before I took any actions, um, afterwards, I was just like so over it. The commute and the my legs, and I just couldn't wait to get in, get showered, have a snack, and get in the bed. And that's exactly what I did. And it was a good day. And it was necessary. It was necessary for my journey. It was necessary. It was so necessary. Um, and so here I am, waking up from my wonderful sleep. I'm gonna get some more wonderful sleep. My sleep pattern has been quite interesting recently. There's a lot of energetic things going on, and I know it is technically a new moon, so um, I'm embracing this new chapter in my life. I'm embracing it and I'm adjusting to it. And I'm going to be vocal about it. I'm going to be vocal about the shifts. And when the full moon comes, I'll do more releasing. I know this is not necessarily a time for release, it's a time for newness and new things. And that's exactly what is happening. Um, and I love this new me. I love this new me that's forming and growing. And I love this new chapter. I love my new boundaries. I love my evolved mindsets of prioritizing myself. And again, through my observations of other black women, kudos to you all for making those decisions as well for yourself, because it is so key. It is so important. And I'm glad I was able to observe, and I am able to observe these examples, um, although possibly not knowing the reasons why. I know for myself, and I'm grateful for those who have shared their experiences, which inspires me to be more open and sharing, because I'm pretty sure there's other young ladies who have had similar experience to me. And where do they get their um, their motivation and their inspiration to push forward? you know it's not the same when, and now of course I'm getting a revelation as I'm doing this. Another reason why I like to do these episodes, because as I speak, things also are being revealed to me. But as young ladies who have the challenges of being in foster care, being young mothers, they need guidance. And it's good to get guidance from loving adults that's in, the positions of counselors and, house. I don't even know what the technical word for it is, but those who work in the house to watch them and make sure they're safe, case managers, and all those people are important, right? Therapists, important. It's important to have a community, right? Um, but I think it's also important to have women who have went through challenging experiences, if not the same, come with their success and be able to actually sit and mentor and speak to these young ladies, speak power to them, speak life to them, let them know it's going to be okay. They just have to keep going forward, and it's okay to rest, and prioritizing and taking care of yourself is a must. I wish somebody told me that. Like that, I learned the hard way. I learned that I have to take care of myself the hard way, because as a mother, I was just being sacrificial. I was sacrificial from day one, and it felt good initially, because I was going down another journey, a journey where it was just like, oh, nobody's there for me, nobody cares about me, and of course, being attractive, um, and being shapely, you know, there was always a Negro, always a Negro that wanted to penetrate, and that is the whole truth right there. And they didn't care. They didn't care about my age. They didn't care about my circumstance. They only cared about their satisfaction. And that was my experience. And that formed a picture of them that it took decades to see that they're not all like that. You know, it took decades, but they came in so many different shapes and forms and positions, from churches to community spaces, just everywhere. They were literally just everywhere with that mindset. And again, it took decades for me to realize not all have that mindset. but many do. So I can only imagine what the young ladies are experiencing nowadays, especially the young moms. And, it may be something that I venture on, finding where these places are, mother and child's and group homes. I know there's a bunch of them, probably really close to me, because there is I believe this is for young men, right across the street from me. There is like a group home or minimal security uh, youth detention space. Um, so yeah, there. I'm pretty sure there's some group homes near me for young ladies. I remember actually traveling. I want to say it was. I want to say it was this year. I want to say it was early spring. Um, I was coming from class and I was at a bus stop and this young lady just started talking to me. She started where asking me directions and I gave it to her. And it was so, speaking of directions, I know you know how I speak. If you're new to my channel, um, just get used to it because I'll start on one thing and then, it reminds me of something else and I'll go there and then I'll circle back. But anyway, yes, the young lady asked me for directions. I gave it to her. Then she just started having a conversation with me. And then she shared with me where she was at. And I shared with her, girl, I used to be in that same space. It's going to be okay. Just keep on going. And I felt something. And I've seen something. So again, I'm glad that I'm expressing this because obviously there's a need there and I can fulfill that need. So I'm going to start working on that, you know? Yeah, I'm going to start working on that, on formulating how I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this mentorship and going and speaking to these young ladies. I already started working on a project where I'll be giving inspirational, um, I hate to say sermon, but sermon is the thing that came to my daggone head. But I like the word inspirational talks better because sermon feels very pressured, and the space that I'm working on now is not a pressured. It's like come get a hot meal, come get some inspiration, possibly connect to some services that you may need for yourself, and go on, keep on going, because the reality is that people have to curate their own lives and they have to realize that they have the power and the ability to do that, that their circumstances, their situations, their family life, none of that stuff dictates what their life must be. It may have had an impact. It may make things more challenging. However, still, they have the power to dictate what they want their life to be. That's everybody. We all have the power to dictate how we want our personal, individual lives to be. And I feel people need to be reminded of that because so many other people are telling them what they got to do, how they got to do it, and all of that stuff. And no, yes, there's formulas that have been proven to work. However, there's still new things that are unfolding and happening every day. So just because a formula has proven to work doesn't mean that's the only way to be successful. Doesn't mean that's the only way to achieve whatever it is a person desires to achieve for themselves. So I'm looking forward to that. That's probably going to start in the fall. And I have a one lady that's on board with me with it. And I've already reached out to the space and I'm looking forward to that. Of course, I got other logistics to work on as far as where the food is coming from. I already know looking to serve 30 people a week, which seems like a small number, but every bit counts. There's, again, enough. There's more than enough. So, anyway, back to directions. Yesterday was very curious. People, at least 5 people, came to me and asked me for directions and like singled me out. It came to me. And so, again, the way my brain and I am structured spiritually, I look at the surface, but I definitely go beyond the surface. And I'm like, why they single me out? I when I was in public safety, it made sense to me. I got on a uniform, it makes sense. But yesterday, I was garbed up. And when I say garbed, GARB, I had on all white. You would think I was a Yoruban priestess, which I'm not. I am Aboriginal. I am spiritual. I am into my Aboriginal, and I have spiritual practices, and it doesn't follow any particular modality. I lean in directly to spirit, and that's how I move, and that's how I navigate. Yes, there's similarities. That's another thing that was interesting. I saw 2 other people completely garbed up. Most of the people I seen was wearing Knicks shirts and hats, and celebrating the Knicks. That's how most people were yesterday. So it was interesting. It was interesting. And yes, I did go to the city. I traveled through Madison Square Garden, and it was interesting. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did because I almost turned around. They was having some festivities out here, and um, my motivation was going to check on my son. Now, my son is very grown, um, but again, I'm just getting to that point where it's like, oh, let go, let all the way go, and let be, um, and pay attention. Like, pay attention. That's my message to me, right? But anyway, yeah, I almost didn't go. And then I had to remind myself, oh, no, no, no. I'm not just going to make sure they're all right, or even to make sure they're all right. I'm going because this is what Spirit has directed me to do. So I'm going to follow this directions of Spirit. And that's it. Um, because I hadn't heard from them in a few days, and I was just like, okay, that's not normal. So let me go and see what's going on. So I'm again so grateful for the journey, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. The complete journey. Yes, a bit taxing on my legs and on my body physically, but I'm resting. I got pillows propped up underneath. Um, I got my nutrients, my water. I'm going to PT tomorrow. Um, and you have to move. You gotta move. This was good for the muscles. Yeah, my joints are not in the best condition, my hip joints, but nonetheless, they are healing, they are improving, and I'm okay. I'm okay. A little bit of pain ain't start nothing. Okay, it's maybe a little bit more than a little bit, but hey, um, I've been biohacking for a minute without even realizing I was biohacking. And yeah, Nah, people were asking me for directions, and I was like, "Why me?" And it wasn't like there was a shortage of uniform people, because the uniform people was out there. They was out there heavy, making sure things were peaceful. I really witnessed um, some really good service. So I want to say kudos to my uniform guys. I don't care what nobody say. I can go from my experiences and my observations, and even just in my travels, I witnessed an officer being very patient, being very kind. It was an individual that was all doped up, and he could have treated it and treated him a completely different way, and he didn't. He called DMT, and he got him to a space where he could get help if he wanted it, you know? And that was very admirable for me to witness. And again, my experience, not my first time I've said it on this channel, but my experiences have been different. They actually have been the men and that have shown me that not all men are the same. They're like the only men that were not, well, in my experience growing up, that were not trying to penetrate a sister. They were the ones that were like protective and um, respectful, and it was like, huh, I feel safe. So I have a different experience with the Bobo than some other people that look like me, and it ain't because I grew up with one in the household. It's just my interactions with them throughout life that's been positive. So, anyway, with that being said, let's get back to people asking me for directions. Why me? Why me? I one lady, which was really strange because I seen this lady. So what do I call them? I call them my spidey senses. And what I mean specifically by spidey senses, meaning observing, um, I'm using all of my senses and my extra ones too. So I'm listening, I'm smelling. Oh my God, I almost puked yesterday. I'm using my visual. No, for real. In the train station, it wasn't funny. I saw a blob of spit, and it made me like, bleh, bleh, bleh. It was already smelly, right? I was, ugh. Anyway, um, yeah, I'm using my five senses. I won't say that I'm tasting the air, but when you smell something, and that was very close. Um, but yeah, I'm smelling. I'm using my visuals. I'm using my ears. I'm just really on high alert when I'm navigating um, outside of my home space, and I'm utilizing everything that's around me. So even if my head is not turned, I'm looking at reflections and stuff of that sort. So it was interesting because initially I was looking at my own reflection, but of course I catch and feel when sometimes, not all the time, I guess when good energy is thrown at me. So I noticed the lady behind me in the frickin' on the escalator, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. I rode the escalator up, and particularly just to get some air. And from she must have been coming from Amtrak. She had to be coming from Amtrak because it didn't make any sense for her to come up and then not know that she didn't have to come up because she didn't. But she came up anyway. So she had to be coming from Amtrak. So I was going to the regular MTA subway, and I was coming from New Jersey Transit. And So I noticed her behind me, but I didn't pay no attention, Just come up the escalator, I noticed her behind me. And, when I came out of the station, I just was like, oh, it felt so good to see so many happy people. Like that for me was like the highlight of my day. It was just happy people every freaking where. And I know that it was a team that inspired this joy and this happiness. However, for me, it was like a preview of what the world feels like when people are doing this intentionally and, doing their own personal work and like, uh, it was heavenly. It was heavenly. So I'm strolling along, doop 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 doop. Got my fresh air, doop 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 doop. Also, I'm admiring the foot traffic of these businesses, and I'm just like, oh my god, I wish my cafe was over here. Oh, the cafe. I gotta get a location over there. Oh my god, I just got to. I don't know how. I have no idea how because most of the spaces in that location have been occupied already. But I'm gonna still claim it. I'm gonna still claim it because, oh, when I tell you that's good business, oh, it's good business. The foot traffic through there, and I'm pretty sure there's a location on the other side on 8th Avenue that is still there. I'm pretty sure. Next time I'm over there, I'm gonna go see for myself if it is. Because baby, and it's a pretty penny. When I say a pretty penny, like a pretty huge penny. However, these other locations, and in a year, if it's still there, like it's there for me. If that place is still there, it's there for my cafe. It's there. It has to be. It has to be. It has to be. Anyway, back to this lady, who I want to say she followed me because she was behind me in the escalator. She looked at me, and I was going slow. And when I got from the escalator to the elevator, um, you would just have to see it. I'm not going to go into the full description of why I took the escalator and then the elevator. It was just, I wanted fresh air, and I'm glad I got the fresh air. And anyway, I get on the elevator. She gets on the elevator with me. I'm going to MTA. She's going to NJT, where I just came from. And how she knows to ask me for directions, I have no clue. But I knew how to give it to her, so I gave it to her. But she was just one of the examples. So many people like just came up to me like, "Excuse me, do you know how to?" Excuse me. It, it's this even before I even left the freaking this city. When I was on the train, and I was just like, okay, why me? There was other people around. Why the heck the lady dressed in all white with the pink turban? Why is she the one you're asking for directions? And of course, that's an afterthought. But yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting. And of course, I'm gonna go meditate and say, well, perhaps because I know the way, it's time for me to share what I know. Share what I know. Share what I know. And that's what this channel is about, too. The Super Tea podcast show is about me sharing. And one day it shall be monetized. And, one day I'll even have a actual talk show. I see it and I feel it. Yes, I do. I see it and I feel it. So these are just the seeds, and they all blossom and produce fruit in their own divine timing. I'm not in a rush. I'm enjoying I'm enjoying life. Life is good, and I'm grateful for it. I'm so grateful. And, for me personally, um, it gets very interesting because my brain wants to be driving all the time. It wants to be driving all the time. But then my heart is like, mm, I'm the one. And I'm like, okay, heart. And so, my logical thinking, it doesn't stop, but I've learned to um, allow it to pause and allow my spirit to just be in the driving seat. And, my logic sometimes it wants to be like, excuse me, this is not making any sense. And this and this and this and this. And want to be adding up and figuring out and all that other stuff. And my heart is just like, I got this. I got this. I got this. And my spirit is just like, I got this. And my brain, I just be having to tell my brain, listen, this is not an equation. This is not a math problem. Just relax. It's gonna work itself out. Even yesterday, day before yesterday, I met with my mentor. She's fantastic. I knew she was gonna be fantastic from day one when I seen her. It was so worth the trip. I traveled to her. I traveled to her office. Again, I'm a feels person, you know. So I'm going off of what I'm feeling along with my intellect. And so, I'm listening intently, even though sometimes I'm multitasking, I'm always listening. And, she did like a presentation that was maybe all of 10 minutes. She brought some other people in so they were able to speak and give presentations. But my spirit was like, give this woman your business plan. This lady has been doing this and she cares about what she's doing. So she's just not, you know, in it for the money. She cares about what she's doing. She doesn't have to do it. I know she doesn't have to do it. I know this lady does not have to come to work. She does it because it's fulfilling and she loves it. And she's helped so many businesses. And I'm just like, oh, she gonna help me, ma'am. Because I need the mentorship. And I need people who care, and who, when I talk about my visions and my ideas and what I have done so far, it's not like, oh, that's too much. Mm-mm. It's like, no, this is how you do it. Let me help you get there. So I have actually two great mentors, and they're friends, and they're women who have been um, in the business industry for decades and decades and decades and decades and decades, probably before I was even born. These women have been navigating corporate America, so, and just business, because corporate America is just one aspect of business, but they have been, yeah, in the business field for decades. And I'm like, oh yes, your wisdom, yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're phenomenal. Um, and so I got that experience Wednesday, and that was good. That was good. I have another project I'm working on, and I really didn't put no energy into it yesterday, which is my fault. Just because I was exhausted by the time I got in. And so I take accountability for that, and I will make up for that today. Uh, recalibrate, accept, you know, accept the reality that I am an empty nester, and accept that fact, and enjoy this new chapter now. And yeah, keep on sharing, keep on giving, and keep on growing. So thank you for tuning into the Super Tea Podcast Show. I don't know who listens to my stuff. I almost remind myself of Delilah. All I need is some smooth jazz. Let me not come up with no new ideas right now. No, I appreciate every new idea. I appreciate every seed I get to plant and to water and to experience the growth and the blossoming and the fruit of. I am extremely grateful for all I have, all that I am, all that I am being, all that I am becoming. I am really grateful for this life experience, and it keeps getting better and better, literally. And it doesn't happen automatically. It kind of does, but it happens intentionally. It happens intentionally, and I don't know what it looks like all the time, but I know it feels great, and I'm just excited. And I want to talk more like on a personal thing, because let's talk about it is more, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, More candid than Soulful Sundays, but I'm not. I'm not going to be too candid with you all. I'm going to stop this broadcast. I'm going to do some more self reflection, probably stroll on social media a bit, uh, finish my nutrient drink, and which my nutrient drink is appetizing as it looks. I have to I have to change my position to drink it, to enjoy it. That's what's got me like, eh, maybe I'll finish it when I get up from my nap. But anyway, life is good. Life is what you make it to be. And you have the power to decide what you want that to be for yourself. So if that's your only takeaway, enjoy. But if you got anything else from listening to Let's Talk About It, put it in the comments. Like, share. You know, don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Thank you again for tuning in to the Super Tea Podcast Show. Catch me for Soulful Sundays, typically at 3 p.m. It's going to be tricky because I am going to be hanging out with my new friends on Sundays now. But I'm going to figure it out. All right? Because I do my shows with my mobile device. So if I got to travel with my book and do it in the park or do it outside or even do it in a space where my new friends are, so be it. I'm going to get it done. Thank you again for tuning in to the Super Tea Podcast Show. This was the Let's Talk About It series. Don't have a definite day. I think aiming for just once a week is a good aim for me right now, with all these other things that's simultaneously happening good in my life, you know? So, again, another thank you for tuning in to the Super Tea Podcast Show.